So I have been working on my SaaS application called Dinnerbee for the past 3 months or so. And honestly, I've really enjoyed most parts of the process. There's a lot of work that goes into it, and especially being a solo founder, there are some parts of the process that I definitely don't enjoy as much as others. And so in this video, I really want to just go over my honest experience so far building SaaS. I would really like to take this as an opportunity in the future to potentially outsource some of these tasks. As Dinnerbee is the first SaaS application that I'm building, I do kind of just want to try and do everything by myself this first time so I can learn as much as possible. But I really do think that this comes with the opportunity of potentially outsourcing mundane tasks or just things that I don't find joy in the future. This is also incredibly subjective, so the things that I might not enjoy doing could be completely different from what you enjoy. So really, I can only speak from my own experiences, but I'm going to break these down into 6 things that so far I have just kind of not enjoyed doing. 3 of them are going to be on the technical front, and 3 of them will be non-technical. So let's just hop right into them. Starting off with the non-technical things that I just haven't found super joyful yet. And the first one is going to be copywriting. Thankfully, so far, there hasn't been a ton of copywriting that I've had to do. But essentially, if you're not familiar with this is writing marketing material for your SaaS application. The place that I've had to do this the most so far is on just the landing page for Dinnerbee. So essentially the landing page is a sales page. So all of the text that is on that page is copywriting. And I definitely don't have a writing background or a marketing background. So kind of phrasing things how I want to doesn't necessarily make the most sense when I'm trying to sell my product. So I really have to kind of get into the mindset of my customer in order to come up with the best wording and sales material that I can for this landing page. And yeah, that's not super fun for me. It's kind of difficult. It's something that I put off for a lot of time, but unfortunately it's a very important part of the process. The landing page can have a really big impact on the amount of conversions that you have, and making small tweaks in copy and how you're wording things and how you're speaking to your customers can have a big impact on your revenue at the end of the day. So these are things that I will split test over time. I have kind of an idea of the marketing message that I'm trying to convey with Dinnerbee, but I definitely don't have all the answers. So figuring all of this out has been a little bit of a challenge for me. Something exciting though is that this is definitely an outsourceable task. There are people whose entire job is just to write copy for either advertisements or landing pages or anything for a given business. So I think I will definitely take a look into hiring out someone who is able to write for me in the future. This could also not just be for my landing page, but if I need advertising copy, if I'm running Facebook or Google ads, or if I need marketing material in terms of blog posts or any other kind of organic written content, all of that can be potentially outsourced if it makes sense to do that from a business perspective. Moving on to the second non-technical thing that I have not really enjoyed so much so far, and this is kind of related in the aspect of marketing, and it is the physical act of creating content for my product. One of the main marketing pillars that I'm using for Dinnerbee is organic content on various social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram. So these are videos, short form videos, and just the actual act of creating the videos, they're not anything crazy. They're not really that difficult to make, but it's just not very inspiring for me to put them all together and actually edit them and then get them uploaded, come up with hashtags and all that kind of stuff. It's really just not something that motivates me a ton, but I know is very necessary if I want to market my product this way. However, I am really passionate about the strategy that goes behind the types of content that I'm trying to make, and split testing to find out what kind of pieces of content are going to, one, get the most views, but also to try and convert them into as many people and sales as possible. And with that, digging into the data that comes with having all of these social media posts and figuring out which ones are actually performing the best, that is super fun for me as well. I love working with numbers and making informed decisions based off of data. So it's like I have to create the content in order to do the 2 parts that I enjoy, but it's just actually creating the physical pieces of content is kind of a slog for me, and I just don't really enjoy it that much. Luckily, just like with the first one, this is something that is very outsourceable in the future. As of right now, I'm doing my absolute best to create these pieces of content for my business, but I think in another 2 to 3 months, I will be pretty burnt out on that, and I'll be looking to outsource on something like Fiverr. The final non-technical thing that is not super inspiring for me, but I definitely had to do this for Dinnerbee, is designing the website itself. So Dinnerbee is a web application, And with it, there are a bunch of different screens and actions that a user can take. And so before I even started building out Dinnerbee, I created a set of Figma mocks that had all of the functionality that I wanted for my application. And honestly, it's definitely possible that it took me longer to create the designs than it did to actually code it. My background is definitely not in design, and I had to go to a ton of different design websites and honestly just dig into what are the principles of design. And I think I came up with something that looks pretty good, but I'm sure that a designer, like an actual professional designer, would have been able to do a much better job in a fraction of the time. So without a doubt, this is going to be the first thing that I outsource for whatever product I work on next. Before I even start working on any code or anything like that, I will be hiring a designer to design the entire website for me. I'll give them the kind of the guidelines of the things that the app should be able to do, and kind of just let them go from there. If there's anything that's like crazy or over the top, I might make some revisions, but I'm really excited to not have to do that next time. Alrighty, so those are some of the non-technical things that I have not enjoyed super much about this process so far, but now let's hop into some of the technical things, and I've got 3 of these as well. The first is slightly in line with the design aspect, but essentially I am building a web application that I want people to also be able to use on their phones. I don't have a mobile application. It's something that I could potentially think about doing in the future if I actually have users and interest, but for the MVP and the first launch, it's just going to be the web application. There are things that I want users, and myself included, I'm going to be a user of my products. I want to be able to use on my phone and not have to do everything on the desktop or on my computer. And making things mobile responsive is such a burden to me. It's not difficult, but it is incredibly tedious, and I feel like I always just miss something, and every time I resize my window, something looks terrible, and then if I resize it again and make it bigger, then the original desktop size that I had doesn't look like how it did before, and it's just this endless loop of trying to make it look good on mobile and on desktop. It is easier to do this now more than ever. I use Material UI for a lot of my styling and components, and they have a great framework for making things mobile responsive, and I'm taking advantage of that, but it's obviously still such a pain to make sure that everything looks exactly how I want. There has to come a point though where I just say like, this is good enough, and I'm working on getting better at that. We'll talk about that later, but in terms of mobile responsiveness, it is really a pain point for me. For the second technical thing, and I did kind of just touch on this briefly, but it is just this overarching feeling that I'm never done. As a software engineer, I think I just hold myself to this standard that I should be creating the best, most amazing piece of software that you've ever seen, and that's really just not the case. I'm one person building this software. It's not revolutionary software or anything like that. And at some point, I have to be okay just saying this is good enough. So far, I'm really struggling with that. It is a mental barrier that I just have to get through. I am doing a beta in the next month or so, and I'm really hoping that some of that frustration will kind of go away once I actually see people using it. I'm sure I'm going to get some feedback about bugs or UI or UX or anything like that, but I think just knowing that people have used it and are able to do the core features that I am expecting from this MVP will help push me past this mental barrier that I have of saying that, oh, just add this one more thing or fix this one more bug. If I can get to a point where I'm good just shipping it, I think I'll feel a whole lot better. And the final technical piece of the puzzle that I have kind of just not really enjoyed so far is getting everything hosted on AWS. I have worked with AWS my entire career. I have used it for almost all of my personal projects, and still, even to this day, with all that experience, something just always goes wrong, and setting things up is never really as easy as you would think they would be. Some resource doesn't have permission to a resource that you thought it did, and therefore they can't talk to each other, and now there's like some errors that I can't debug, and I go to Amazon's documentation and I have a hard time trying to figure out what I did wrong. It happens every time. In the future, I might look into a platform as a service, something like Heroku, to get some of this set up for me a bit easier, and I would have to pay a little bit more, but it might be worth it. So these are some of the decisions that I'll have to make in the future. For now, I am running with AWS, and I will be able to get everything set up. It's just taking a little bit longer than I would have liked, and I'll be really excited when that part of the process is over. That'll wrap it up, though. I don't want to complain too much because genuinely, I do love being able to build my own software, and there is a ton that goes into it, so obviously some of those parts are going to be less fun than others, but I did just want to highlight some things for me personally that have been challenges and also opportunities for me in the future to outsource these things and maybe free up some more time so I can do more impactful tasks. If you're also building a software, definitely leave a comment down below if you share any of these sentiments towards the things that I was talking about, or if you have your own frustrations that come with building software. I'd love to hear about them. Thank you a ton for watching all the way through to the end of the video. I really do appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and I will see you in the next one.